Kabling! That was a really happy sound.
But not Zoom Siri. And we're going to throw everybody off today because I'm on the left and you're on the right.
Oh, no.
And I don't see the option to mirror my video.
Oh, no.
Which is probably there, but I just haven't had enough time to play with it. So
yeah, we switched. For anybody who cares, we switched to a different platform because I'm locked out of my Zoom account right now because somebody else is using it, and we want to do this right now so that we can both get in a big fat nap. It's a Saturday afternoon, and we usually record these things in the evenings during the week. So yeah, and that's how it goes. And
that's information that everyone needs.
Yeah, I felt like that was important to know.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, everybody out there in podcast land, whether you're listening to the audio or checking out the video on that there YouTube, we are back with a special inserted episode of Different Strings, a guitar adjacent podcast, because we're doing a holiday episode, aren't we, Andrew?
We are doing a holiday episode, my friend. It is extremely special. I'm a big fan of the holidays. I don't know about you, but I look forward to this time of year with the passion of a million suns.
That's really encouraging to hear. I am not the biggest holiday fan because traditionally I just have to work all through the holidays. And this year is no different. So I don't really kind of truly get to enjoy it the way other people do, but I always look forward to the season because it gives me an excuse to listen to holiday music. And I love holiday music. I always have. I will listen to it in my car when I'm by myself in the warmer months of the year because I like it that much. And I especially like rock and roll, instrumental, guitar-based Christmas music, which I'm sure is no surprise to you.
Yeah, you're getting ahead. You're like on page 5 and I'm still on page 1. So,
what I thought we could do was like a little holiday gift ideas episode, because a lot of times people wonder, what do I get the guitar player in my life for a gift? So,
and I don't want to break the bank.
Right. I think you wisely put a limit of $100 on this because I think that's a reasonable cap. And
I think so too.
Yeah, and I tried to dig up a bunch of things that were even cheaper than $100. I think I only found one thing that's like right close to $100 that I thought of. And I don't know what you thought of. I just know what I thought of because I wrote it down in the notes.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, I'm looking at the list, and spoiler alert, a lot of them are very small and would make great stocking stuffers or Hanukkah gifts or, whatever holiday you celebrate. Apparently, a lot of people are celebrating Festivus, Wes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Festivus.
Well, I know that I have made time in the outline for this episode for feats of strength, so I am familiar with the traditions surrounding Festivus.
All right. So in case you're curious, you can find us on the web at differentstringspodcast.com, where you'll find blog posts and links to past episodes and perhaps some Christmas goodies and Hanukkah goodies and Festivus goodies and Kwanzaa goodies. And who knows what other goodies you're going to find up there as we continue to build our guitar adjacent empire. But before we get into the headliner, you specifically, Wes, requested, and look, I'm a generous guy around the holidays. You ask, I deliver. You very specifically wanted to talk about something you hold near and dear to your heart, not just Christmas music, but very special Christmas music. So let's get into that.
Yes. So one of my favorite things that I ever did as kind of a holiday treat for my family was take them to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which, if I'm sure you know who they are, but it's a band that is technically not an orchestra.
Okay.
But they do feature strings, and I believe that they just hire locals to play in every town that they go to. I don't believe they travel with a string section.
Oh, that's dope. I kind of like that.
Yeah, well, when you start like they do with like a dude who knows how to write and arrange and orchestrate and create charts, you can produce the sheets of music that these string players live and die by.
Hmm.
Unlike a lot of guitar players, pretty much everybody that plays the violin knows how to read music,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and but the Trans-Siberian Orchestra has put out um, 4 releases, 2 albums, and 2 EPs. I think one is kind of a long EP. And I think they did one of like regular classical music. And what they've basically done is okay, wait, let me back up. Trans-Siberian Orchestra got their start as an idea between, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, Paul O'Neill and John Oliva, who was the leader of a band called Savatage, which is,
Man, that taking me back.
I know, right? Hall of the Mountain King, Gutter Ballet, Streets of Rock Opera. Gutter Ballet is still one of the best 80s metal albums that nobody listens to.
Hmm.
Um, and they're planning on putting out a new album next year, which will be their first album in over 20 years.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Paul O'Neill passed away.
Oh.
And for a very long time, or at least at the beginning of the band, John Oliva's brother Chris was in the band, but he was killed by a drunk driver, unfortunately, I believe in the early 90s, 93, 94, something like that. But the other guitar player from Savatage is a guy called Chris Caffrey, and Chris has been prominent in the whole Trans-Siberian Orchestra thing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where TSO got their start. And the albums are fun. They're kind of a mix of metal and jazz and classical, and they feature male and female singers. And it's just they're kind of all concept albums. They had a long form video that was like 25 or 30 minutes long, that kind of told this Christmas story, and it's just fun. But I took my family to see them, and they played at like the big arena in Washington D.C., and it was a spectacle, is what it was. I mean, they had risers that flew up in the air. They had an amazing light show. They had pyro. I mean, they had pyro for a Christmas music show, and
Mhm.
it was awesome. It was everything that I loved about a good heavy metal show, but it was all Christmas music and Christmas related kind of classical music. Chris Caffrey is super active um, on social media, and they actually have 2 touring units. So they have one that tours the eastern half of the U.S. and one that tours the western half of the U.S. And they gear up mid-November and they run through the end of December, and they just play their asses off. And sometimes I think on the weekends they even do 2 shows a day, an afternoon and an evening.
Wow.
And they sell out all over the place.
Hmm.
And they're so much fun. And it's basically Savatage with strings.
With strings and playing music
Yeah.
only related to Christmas music. And so never seen them live, but you can't turn on the radio around Christmas time without hearing Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It is just as ubiquitous as, any other classic Christmas song, right?
Yeah.
It's right there. They play it on anytime you're hearing Christmas music, you're getting that. So it's kind of cool. Never seen them live. I like that they put on a killer show.
Oh, they really do.
And they really dress the part too. Like I've seen pictures from concerts. I mean, they come out like they're not dressed for a metal show. They're dressed for, a Christmas show sometimes.
Yeah,
Full
frilly
regalia.
sleeves and collars,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you
They
know.
they play up the orchestra part. But where does Trans-Siberia come from?
I don't know where that came from, why they call it that. But they've been around since the mid 90s.
Mhm.
And knowing the history of Paul and John, and another cat called Al Petrelli, who is
Oh my God, yeah.
a stunning guitar player.
Yeah, God, you're
Um,
taking me way back.
I think it's just kind of an extension of their like prog metal roots.
Mm.
You know, that it was something that they came up with that sounded really exotic, but yet also people kind of could understand it, if that makes sense.
If you're on the YouTubes, drop in the comments if you know the exact origin of the Trans-Siberian name. I'm kind of curious if there's some kind of lore behind that.
Yeah, there's got to be a story, um, you know, and unlike some bands, the initials TSO don't spell out anything vaguely offensive or lewd.
No, and you know, it's weird. Even though they are definitely heavy metal, you never really hear anyone like accusing them of not being good for teenagers, and that's probably because even though they're metal, it's their lyrics are all they're all Christmas songs.
Yeah,
So
and
I
they,
like that they're singing Christmas songs, but in the music of Satan himself, which I think is very interesting.
yeah, and that it's I'd say that most of their, at least most of their released works are, you know, like 25 to 30% originals,
Hmm.
both instrumentals and songs with singers. So, you know, there's a real story to the music, and I really dig that as well.
Nice.
So,
All right, man. So if you're not listening to TSO, and
you should.
you should. I mean, it's as of the time of recording this episode, it's December 2nd. Christmas is nigh, and you need to get into the spirit. And I can't think of a better way if you're a guitar player. Well, there may be one better way, but we're going to get into that in the next Music That Matters.
That's right.
Spoiler alert. Listen to Music That Matters. You're going to hear some stuff.
So yeah, so Andrew and I thought we'd come together with some holiday gift ideas because you know, everybody's got a guitar player in their life, and you know,
that you're paying the rent for.
Yeah, that lives off of your largesse. And these things are good, of course, any time of year. So, you know, write these things down and keep a list for birthdays and stuff, because, or just because they need a pick me up. Because I guarantee if you have a guitar player in your house, they need a pick me up because they're not getting any gigs.
Seriously. Seriously. I forget what we were watching. Oh, we were watching an episode from season 2 of Master Chef last night.
I love that show, man.
And in season 2, there was a guy who they did a little, before they come out, sometimes they do like a mini bio on one of the contestants.
Yeah.
And for this guy, he was like, "So I'm a musician and a stay-at-home dad." And we're like, "Of course you are.
Of course you are." Yeah.
That used to be called unemployed musician. Now it's called stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. Musician and unemployed and stay-at-home dad means you accidentally got your girlfriend pregnant and married her.
And weirdly, that's the guy we're pulling for, because I can relate so deeply to that individual.
Yeah. I'm there. I feel him. I know exactly who you're talking about too.
So, you approached me, credit where it's due, with doing a holiday themed episode. And then we both kind of got the idea for gift ideas because, again, I speak from experience when I say my wife does not know what to buy me. I am impossible to shop for.
Yeah.
But that's not because she's not thoughtful. It's because if I see something, I buy it.
Yeah.
Right?
Both of us are fortunate to be adults with regular jobs, with day jobs.
Right.
So that means that we can buy stuff when we want to.
But I want to dispel a myth that a gift has to be something that your significant other needs. The purpose of a gift is, well, first to show appreciation and to have the joy of giving. The gift in and of itself is rarely the point. It's the act of giving, showing that you care about someone enough to put any thought into something. But I'd argue it's not always about need. Sometimes it's about the stuff they wouldn't buy themselves. In fact, I looked at this list and most of them are items that I wouldn't get myself, but I would definitely find a use for and appreciate having. And every time I saw it, I'd say, "Oh, someone got me that." So, let's just dispel the myth that it has to be a need. And it's okay if it's like something that they would never buy themselves. I mean, in a way, that's almost kind of the point of a gift is, hey, I saw this and thought of you, and I know you'd never buy it for yourself. So here. So if you're going through this list and you're like, well, my significant other would never buy this for themselves. Right.
Right.
But if they're a person who wouldn't appreciate it, kick them to the curb. All right. Because that's a deal breaker, honey. I'm sorry.
There you go. So I came up with a list of 10 things, and of course we can add other things. And I started at $5 and maxed at $99.99, which is right at the limit that we set of $100.
Yeah. Also, the prices as of today, December 2nd, are subject to change. We got these most likely, I'm guessing, from like Amazon, but it could have been from anywhere. But yeah, don't blame us if the prices change, especially if they go up.
It's 2023, so that could change. If you listen to this in 2073, then I'm sure these things are more expensive then. Hey, you never know. It could happen, Andrew, man. YouTube lives forever.
Yeah, but I suspect that we're going to just never mind. All right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Nuclear war's coming. All right. So I don't know why I did that. So number one, first of all, I had to look these up.
Yeah.
And now that I've seen them, I absolutely need them on every instrument that I have, because I think it's a brilliant idea. And I also suspect there's a little story behind this. So go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So this is a thing called Knob Ease. And this is actually their second rodeo. They started with a different spelling, and now they're spelled Knobbeez. Knob Ease.
How else would they spell it before?
Well, the original spelling was Nob-Ease. Knob.
And everyone pronounced it Nobies.
No, yeah, very likely. But I believe that they sold their IP to another person. At any rate, the name kind of tells it, right? They're knobs and they're easy to use.
Love it.
What it is they're a little bit smaller than the main part of a Fender style knob, right?
Okay.
And they're made out of a hard rubber.
Okay.
So they're super easy to grab with your fingers. And if you especially like me, if you're a pinky sweller, they're wonderful. And they come in all different colors. They have 7 or 8 different colors, including glow in the dark, which really do glow in the dark. I have some that are over 20 years old and they still glow in the dark. And they're $5 a piece. No brainer. Yeah, you can outfit a guitar for $15 to $20 or less. A Telecaster's $10, a Strat's $15, a Les Paul is $20.
If you need them to match, remember, if you're a volume sweller and you never touch your tone pot, you may be a guitar player just wants one, but friends, don't buy just one, because if you buy just one and they want them on their tone pots, they're out of luck. So maybe get them the set. And if you don't know how many they need, find a guitar that they play a lot and count the knobs.
Now, you see this guitar over my shoulder, my Fender, my 89 Fender heavy metal Strat?
I do.
It has 3 purple knobbies on it. And I put it in the corner of the picture specifically because it has knobbies on it.
Yeah. Well, we can't see them, so maybe you should go get it.
Oh, I guess I could do that. Hold on one second.
And so while Wes is doing that, there is a story behind knobbies. They are grippy AF, so that's a good thing. Also, they work on both knurled or smooth shafts, and I believe they make a version that replaces a knob, and I think they make one that also slips over a knob. I don't know. I know they make several different versions, but yeah, there they are.
So here we go. Yeah,
there I see the purple.
Yeah, purple knobs, purple pickups. Those are purple DiMarzio pickups, because this is a Super Strat.
Yep.
And I'm looking for a purple switch tip. If I can find that, I'm going to be.
Incidentally, the purple on the knobs and the pickups are a perfect match.
Yeah.
I mean, at least over Google.
Yeah, they are, and they are in person as well. And they match in person as well, and I couldn't believe my luck, because the hues are what they are. And so it's actually because of that guitar that I do have one warning to anybody that gets them, is that you want to, as you're pushing the knob onto the shaft, you want to hold the back of the pot and push your fingers together, because if there's the slightest most people don't know this, but pots are constructed with little clamps, right?
Mhm.
The metal base clamps over the wafer. And so if you push too hard on the shaft, you will pop the back of the pot off of the innards.
Yeah.
And I did that, of
Oof.
course, because I'm secretly the Hulk. So yeah,
Well,
so just put your thumb on the back of the pot and push the knob onto the shaft and you'll be fine.
if you buy these for someone, tell them to either A, watch this episode. Well, tell them to watch the episode anyway, because, well, all right, hold on. Let's be clear. If people are watching this, they most likely play an instrument. So how do we get this in front of people? Oh, well, we assume that you also know people that play an instrument, and that means you should be telling them about it. So why aren't you not doing that? Okay.
There you go.
So here's the thing. If you buy these for someone, just warn them about the installation. Just that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it only matters if it's a weak pot, but you don't know it's a weak pot until you crash it open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's number one. Now I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the second. Oh, wait, did you want to say something else?
I was going to say that number 2 is on the list because of you, my friend.
So I will say it's a fancy strap, but specifically my pick would be a 3-inch leather strap, and you can even go padded leather strap and still be way under $100.
Oh,
so yeah, even this morning I was checking out padded leather 3-inch straps, and Levi's makes one, not Levi's, the denim brand, but is it Levi's? I don't know. I always say Levi's. Anyway, they make a 3-inch padded leather strap. And although you've got it listed here at 25, as of this morning, it was like 35, but you know how prices on Amazon are.
Jump around.
Yeah. So you can still get a 3-inch padded leather strap and relieve the weight of your significant other's, let's just say it, Les Paul.
Yeah.
Telecaster, whatever the giant slab hunk of wood that they're playing right now, their Paul Reed Smith, their boat anchor. Yeah. So they will thank you. Their back will thank you. Their shoulders will thank you. But it doesn't even have to just be this, this one. There's a lot of 3-inch leather straps out there. Even unpadded are going to be a relief, but this one in particular, and I've seen this one, I've used it, I've played it. It's decent. It will last 7 lifetimes. So yeah, highly recommended.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw on there, if you do get them that strap, I saw this morning that Diodario now makes a new kind of strap lock that clips on to the strap button. It's also like $5, and it has a little channel for you to run the cable through, so you can have some stress relief on your cable.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get them a strap, you might as well get them some strap locks for like $5, and it also doubles as cable relief. Pretty cool.
And that's a huge improvement over their design that you used to have to screw onto the body of the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it is Levi's, because it ends with a Y instead of an I. I think Levi is Levi, and Levy would be Levy. Yeah. But technically Levy should be Levee, and it's not that either.
Well, and to be fair, I have a family member whose last name is Levy, and it's pronounced Levy. So
crazy.
There's another one. So, all right.
Number 3.
Go for it.
I wrote down big bag of guitar picks. I used to get, when I was younger, I used to get like plastic Fender style guitar picks, Fender 351s, the mediums. I would get them by the gross. That's a dozen. That's 144 picks. But in the meantime, I have changed. I switched to Dunlop Tortex picks, the matte finish nylon ones. But now I use these. I'm going to hold that up to the camera.
Nice.
And it is definitely plastic. It's called Herco, and I use the Flex 75. You can see at the top, they have a little grippy spot on the back. There's a little more information. Nylon, made in the USA. And these come in a bag of 100 for $37. So that's 37 cents a pick, which is not much inflation from the 25 cents a pick I used to pay when I was a kid. And I'll tell you, specifically why I recommend these specific picks is not just the grippy part at the top, but they last so much longer than regular picks for me.
Mhm.
I have a really heavy right hand, to the point where I actually grind away my forefinger fingernail.
Mhm.
When I play a lot, I will grind that away. And these picks last longer than anything else I've ever used in my entire life.
Okay.
And so I bought a bag of 100 3 years ago, and I still have probably 30 or 40 left.
Hmm. So you go through picks. I don't. I lose them.
Yeah.
Well, I used to lose them when I was gigging regularly, and they would wind up all over creation. I'm sure there's picks in every part of this country that I've left. And then they also get lost in the wash.
Yep.
You know, so one option is find out what kind of pick your SO uses, and then just get them like a million of them. Or you can go the route and buy the exact pick Wes uses and say these are different strings approved.
That's right.
Or, go on Amazon and just like search for creative guitar picks or unique guitar picks, and like
Yeah.
just get like some unique guitar picks. They make them in a bunch of different materials, different shapes, different sizes, and just tell your SO, hey, I got you some different kinds of picks to experiment with because they sound different and they feel different.
Yeah. And there's even a bunch of companies out there that will make you custom guitar picks if you want. So if you want to get a guitar pick, a batch of guitar picks made with, your
Name.
your friend's name or the band name of their band or something like that, or anything, that's easy to do. Although if you're looking for something to get to them before Christmas, that might be tough. They usually need a little bit more lead time than that. When is Hanukkah this year? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'm not going to look that up. Maybe
Worst you ever.
well,
So I like this one
the
because
next one, number 4.
Yeah, because weirdly, this is an item I can't seem to keep like around without losing. I don't know why, but I lose them like some people lose left socks. But you were very specific about this. So a great idea is a capo, to allow your guitar playing, and more to play in different keys and stuff. But you specifically picked out a drop D capo.
I did. And a drop D capo is a special kind of capo that only covers 5 strings. So depending on which direction you put it on your neck, it either leaves your low E string or high E string uncapoed.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it a drop D capo because that's what I use mine for. I use it to create the sensation of drop D without having to retune my guitar. Right now, and it also makes it so that when you play a bar chord with a root note on the E string, you have to use 2 fingers instead of just one. You can't just like bar across at the 5th fret, because like you would with true drop D.
Mm-hmm.
But I've used this on a number of songs that were in E, but I wanted to get a little more of a droney feel to them
Mm-hmm.
than I could get with just the regular E tuning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a lot of fun to kind of mess with your tuning a little bit without really messing with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're actually much more prevalent now than when I remember looking for one. There's the $16 version from Planet Waves, but it looks super goofy. There's a $22 version from Kaiser, which is also kind of goofy looking. It's got the big curly Q top, and those are the ones that I have. And then there's a slightly more expensive one. A company called G7th sells their capos. They're really, really great capos, but they cost more. And their version of the drop D capo is $45. So there's a little bit of a range in there. But if you don't think your guitar player will like the drop D, or you don't, whatever, you can get a regular capo too, and that's always a good gift.
Yeah.
Because especially if your guitar playing friend or family member is a singer songwriter, because they do tend to use capos a little bit more than the rest of us.
I agree.
So I use a capo for one song, And that's only when I don't feel like taking along the guitar that I would normally tune to an alternate tuning to play that song, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So if it's a small gig with a small stage and not very much space, I'll just take a capo and I'll play it with that. Excuse me. And I have more capos than you can shake a stick at. I have all different kinds because, much like guitar picks, I keep looking until I find the one that works really well for me.
And they don't have a real high resale value, so it's not like you can put them on eBay.
No, not really.
So this next one, I kind of like this for a couple of reasons. And I'm going to talk about my experience with this particular brand of this particular item after we go through your pick. So go through your pick.
Okay. So what I put down was a Fender guitar gig bag.
Specifically Fender brand.
Specifically Fender, because I've had a couple different ones and they cost about $40 for the low end ones. I just ordered a Daphne blue one because it was so cool and unusual looking, and I got it for $37 plus $5 shipping, so $42 total.
Where'd you find that?
On Reverb.
Okay.
I got that on Reverb.
Okay.
But I'll put in a plug for the PRS SE gig bag, especially the older style. If you can find, they're a little more thickly padded, you can find them in like a maroon or a gray. They're getting hard to find new because PRS changed the design, but I buy used guitars, so I buy used gig bags too.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one of their SE gig bags for my bass 6, and that was $50, you know. So gig bags are super affordable, and especially if you gig, I think they're useful because humping 3 or 4 guitars, if you have to, or even 2 in big rectangular cases to a gig can be a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And where do you put the case to open it once you're at the venue? All those kinds of things. So I tend to use gig bags when I gig,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but and having said that, I'm going to go off on a little tiny bit of a rant here. Guitar manufacturers who are selling guitars that cost more than $1,000 should supply them with hard cases, not gig bags.
They should. They don't.
They don't.
It's
this is a trend. They're cutting their costs without passing that savings on to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Many guitars don't come with gig bags or cases at all. Yep. These days. And then the ones that do come with any sort of protection are going with gig bags. And I'm pretty sure that there's plenty of guitars in the sub $2,000 range, between $1,000 and $2,000 you can buy right now that only come with gig bags. I'm looking at PRS with the CEs and all that, gig bags.
Yeah, don't the S2s come with gig bags?
They do.
Yeah.
And they're very expensive given the circumstances. So my story around Fender, you can get very expensive gig bags.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What is it? What's the company? Mono. Yeah. Sells like $400 gig bags.
Mm-hmm. As Howard Stern's dad said to him when he was a young child, don't be stupid, you moron. Do not spend $400 on a gig bag. No one is worth that. I wouldn't even buy myself a $400. Here's the thing though. I don't know who makes Fender's gig bags, but they seem to like consistently be really high quality padded gig bags for not a lot of money.
Yeah, I think the Fender gig bags, and that's why I specifically put Fender, because I think their gig bags are of good quality. I mean, good enough for me, certainly, and I'm a snob when it comes to stuff.
Yeah. So, and by the way, gigs aren't the only place people bring guitars. They bring them to all sorts of places, relatives' houses and vacations and the beach. And so there's no reason for anyone to bring a guitar around in a heavy, full hard case if you can get away with a lightweight, easy to use, shoulder carryable gig bag. And you can never have too many, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So, I think that's a great gift idea. And Fender seems to be doing a really nice job of making quality gig bags these days.
Yeah, and I have an old one. I have an old one, and it's still pretty good. I mean, I've had it since I was like 18 or 19. So it's a 30-year-old gig bag,
Hmm.
30 plus, and it's still in good shape. But the inside nowadays, they figured out pretty quick after a while that you got to put an extra layer of fabric on the inside to prevent the nubby ends of the strings from chewing up the padding.
That's right.
So mine has duct tape because it didn't have that
Hmm.
nylon fabric. The new ones have the nylon fabric right there where the headstock is.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I and I mentioned Fender specifically because I wouldn't go any farther down in quality than that, because below that, what you end up with is just a nylon sack.
Okay. Thank you. Because I was just about to say, I don't want to say a brand, but there's a very ubiquitous case brand out there that basically will sell you a $20 nylon sack.
Yeah.
And yes, you can go that route. And when the guitar falls over and something breaks, you will be devastated. So just padded gig bags, don't go super cheap. It is still protecting the instrument. So
Yep, absolutely.
this next one is dope.
Dope.
I think it's a great idea. And it is a tripod guitar stand, a gravity stand. So there's
I knew there was a real name for them, and I couldn't come up with it.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
So there's two types of stands. Well, there's
A lot of types of stands.
yeah, but primarily there's the stand that features, support underneath where you drop the guitar onto those supports.
I see what you're doing there.
See what I'm doing there. And then there's the gravity stand, which is something where you take the guitar and you hang it by the headstock from that support. That's a gravity stand. So basically it's the guitar's hanging from a hook that is part of the stand, and then it rests back on some foam or whatever. And Hercules makes the best gravity stand, although Paul Reed Smith just entered the market with a stupid expensive cork sniffing doctor, lawyer, dentist guitar stand. It is exuberantly expensive,
but it's
yes,
beautiful.
It looks good. If you're buying it, I don't want to know you. But Hercules makes roughly a $50 to $60 stand, and it is of the highest quality, and it's lightweight. And what I like about the stand idea is, again, you can never have too many. And I like having a guitar in like every room of the house where I like hang out. Like if I have an idea for a song or I just want to noodle, I don't want to have to walk all the way in the back of the house and pull out a hard case and grab a guitar. No, I just want to have a guitar in a room. And the Hercules stands are just top notch, and I really love them. So I think that's a great idea. And it is one of the greatest stands, the Hercules stand. There are other gravity stands out there, but again, just like with gig bags, don't go cheap because they will break.
Yeah, the cheaper they get, the more rickety they get. I'll show you
rickety. Yeah, good
how
idea.
easy they are. How easy the Hercules is to use. Watch this. You ready?
I'm watching. If you're on YouTube, watch. This is what happens. You put your guitar on the hook, and then boom. Also, when you drop it on the hook, there's two little levers that swing down and keep the guitar right.
Yeah, yeah, they swing in.
And the other thing is, the foam is, it's non-reactive, so it won't chew away at your, finish on your nitro or poly guitar or whatever it is.
I call it hypoallergenic.
Oh, non-reactive hypoallergenic. It won't make you sneeze. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I like, especially with the Hercules, I like that they've got a squeeze adjust to change the height. So you squeeze it and then you can move it up, so you don't have to undo a knob. You don't have to worry about a friction knob wearing out,
right?
Or you're not.
So you squeeze it and then it goes up and down.
Exactly. Right. And especially the gravity stands, because they hang the guitar from the neck rather than putting two posts underneath it to cradle it from the bottom. They work for any shape guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have offsets or flying V's or whatever, then the gravity stand is the best solution for you anyways.
Unless it's a Strandberg, my friend, or a Steinberg.
Right. It cannot be a headless guitar. Those need
Steinberger.
non-gravity stands.
Yeah. If you try to hang a Strandberg off of one of these stands, don't call me.
Don't call us. Yeah.
Don't call us.
No.
What's next, my friend?
Next is I put down a box of guitar strings. And I said a box because I don't know about most people, but if you only have one guitar, and who among us does, you don't go through strings if you have one guitar and you're not playing in a band, you don't go through strings very fast. I have a bunch of guitars and I play in a band. I might go through 4 or 5 sets of strings in a month. You know, and if I decide, I want to take these 2 guitars to a gig and I can't remember the last time I changed the strings, that's 2 sets right there. Plus the 2 sets in my gig bag, so I have spares in case I need one, et cetera, right? So I put down
line is we all go through strings, even if you use coated strings,
they're consumable.
Thank you. A box of no one will ever look at a box of strings and goes, I ain't going to use those.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually you will.
Yeah. And I'm a long-term Ernie Ball regular Slinky user. That's the green pack that has a 0.010 a 10, right, as the high E, and that a box of those is $60, and you get 2 extra sets in the box, right? So normally they would just sell them in 10s, but a box is 12, $60. That's $5 a set. That's a bargain.
So Wes has here. One of the things that makes this podcast so enjoyable, so entertaining, is our stories.
Yeah.
Wes, has anyone ever asked their significant other around Christmas time, hey, what kind of strings do you use, without sounding like
you're fishing?
That's like asking your soon-to-be fiance, what size ring do you wear? So don't do that. Here's what you do. If they're in a band, you find out, you talk to one of the bandmates and just say, yo, can you find out what kind of strings
Roger uses? Yeah.
And if they're not in a band, just, violate their privacy and their boundaries when they're not home, sneak into their stuff. And if you find anything illicit, they get a free pass because you're violating their trust. So it doesn't count if you find anything you're not supposed to see. But just look in all of their gear until you find a pack of strings that they use. And then that's what you go with. Now, I'm not condoning violating your significant other's boundaries and privacy, but if you must, for the ends always justify the means. I think we can both agree. So many years ago, someone asked me around this time of year. Someone asked me, well, no, it wasn't my wife, because my wife is more subtle than that. But someone had asked me, hey, what kind of strings do you use? And I thought, let's see, we never talk about my band or guitar. It's December 15th. I think she's getting me some strings. Yeah. She got me some strings. Nice. But anyway, just be a little more subtle. Okay, folks?
Yeah. And if you're having trouble figuring out where they keep their strings to look at them, most hard cases have a glove box in them, you know? So make sure you lay that case down flat before you open it up. And if they're a gig bag user, there's a zipper pocket usually on the front. And I know I keep strings in both of those places.
Brilliant.
So those are good places to check.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you yourself are a guitar player and you're looking for weird strings, I want to throw down a plug for a company called Stringjoy, at stringjoy.com. They sell regular sets of strings, but if you're looking for, say, you want to try the Nashville tuning, they've got those strings. Say you have a baritone guitar and you want to try a heavy top, light bottom set of baritone strings, you can make a custom set. I get my 12 string sets from them because the official Rickenbacker 12 string sets are like $25 a set.
Whoa.
And I get them on Stringjoy for $15. and I get the
Actually,
exact same gauges.
speaking of having a lot of gauges, and since you mentioned the Ernie balls, they make a lot of gauges that others do not. A lot of gauges that others do not. And I'm playing up their stuff right now because I had to switch gauges because of my arthritis, and they're
Yeah.
the only ones that carry the gauge that I want. So kudos to Ernie Ball for making that.
Yeah, and there's other companies out there. Diodario makes good strings. Those are the two big mass market string manufacturers. And it's probably, if you buy strings that are from a very small company, they're probably making those companies strings.
Yeah.
So,
Yo, can I shout out real quick to the next one on the list?
absolutely, please do. Number 8.
All right. I feel like we need a drum roll for this. I seriously do. A Boss DS1 orange distortion pedal.
Yeah.
Wait. It's still
Still.
under $100
Yeah.
for that pedal.
Yeah. On Amazon for $65, brand
in a
new.
world of boutique pedals that are gooped and selling on reverb for $8,000, and everyone and their mother makes a transparent overdrive, you can still get a Boss DS1 and own for less than $100. That is just, that's top notch, man. They could easily have raised the price on that thing to compete, and they just, why they didn't have to, and they didn't, and I just love that. I love that.
And I don't think there's another cheap distortion pedal out there that sounds as good as the DS1.
Mm-hmm.
The DS1's my go-to.
Mm-hmm. It's dope.
I even sprung for a Wazacraft DS1. And I'll tell you, man, it sounds exactly like the one I got in the early 90s sounds. Exactly. I put them side by side, same settings, exact same sound.
Off topic, but what does the Wazacraft do that makes it special?
Well, basically they're all made in Japan instead of anywhere else. At like the original Boss factory, and they went back to the original specs for the original pedals. So over time, there's component drift because we don't think that resistors and capacitors can suffer from supply chain issues, but as the manufacturer of those change their practices and policies and even go out of business, tolerances can change and things like that. So, Boss made a concerted effort to go through a good number of their classic pedals, the ones that kind of built their reputation, and go back to the original specs for those pedals. And they're really fantastic pedals. I've got 3 of them. I got the analog delay, which is just called delay. I got the DS1, and I've got the CE2, which is, in my opinion, the best compact chorus pedal ever built by man or beast. Yeah. And I love that pedal.
Nice. So get yourself, or the one you love, a Boss DS1. You will thank us later.
Absolutely.
All right. Now you need to talk about this next one, because I think you have one. I do not.
I have 2 of these actually, because I thought I lost one.
Ooh.
And before I found, and the way you find something when you're a guitar player, the way you find something that you've lost is you buy a new one.
And then the other one pops up.
Then the other one shows up, and it shows up. It shows up the day after the return window closes on the replacement that you bought.
Talk to us.
What I put down is the Fender Custom Shop Toolkit, which costs $70, $69.99, which sounds like a lot for some guitar tools, but I keep one at my house, which I use to set up every guitar that I have, and I use, at a minimum, I use the string winder and the wire cutters, the string trimmers at a minimum. There's also a reversible screwdriver with 4 different heads, Phillips, 2 Phillips and 2 standard. There's some measuring tools. You can basically do there's some Allen wrenches. If you have a Fender guitar, you can do anything you need to your Fender guitar. If you have a different brand, you may not be able to adjust the neck. You might need a special tool specific to your guitar to do a neck adjustment. Okay. But you can do almost everything else. Set the pickup height, set the string height, intonate, blah, blah, blah. All you need, add tuner, have fun. And I think it's really cool. It comes in a little zipper case. Everything has its own little slot. It's even got nut drivers, so you can take pots off if you need to. It's just a really well thought out toolkit that Fender used to just throw these in the case with the custom shop guitars. It was a giveaway that you got, with a custom shop guitar. I know my 2017 had one, which of course I got used, because even when I get a nice guitar, I get the cheapest one I can find. Now, from what I understand, because you got a Fender custom shop guitar earlier in 2023 and you didn't get the kit, so they don't do that anymore.
No, but I got a nice suede strap.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So, it's just a great, I keep one in my bag that I take to every show, and I keep one at home now because I thought I lost one. And so now I have two. And I think that's the kind of thing that every guitar player can use, because you and I have talked many times on this show about the benefits of learning how to set up your own guitar and to set it up the way you like to play it.
And this tool will basically give you almost every, if not every, tool you need to do that in one. And remember what I said earlier, it's not about whether someone needs it, it's whether or not they would buy it for themselves. And most likely, no one's buying themselves a $70 custom shop toolkit because it's very unique and very niche, but it is also incredibly thoughtful.
Yeah.
And if I had one right now and I got one as a gift, I would find a way and a reason to use it all the time.
Yeah, and they're quality tools, and you can trust me. I don't buy crap tools, because my motto when it comes to tool is buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll buy a higher quality tool, even though it costs more money, because I know it's going to last longer and it's going to work better in that time.
Yeah.
So you can buy cheap tools and they wear out,
and
then you have to buy another one,
or they break or whatever. So
yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah. Don't do that.
All right. This last one, I have to round out the list with this last one. I feel like it was made for me. I used to abuse one of these things.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Like nobody's business. And I've probably owned at least 4 in my lifetime because, again, I lose/break or lend them to people and never see them again. Ladies and gentlemen, the ubiquitous, the funky, the ever-present EBow.
EBow, $99.99, my friends.
The electronic bow for guitars. It is so cool. If you don't know what this is, Wes, please explain the EBow.
It is a
battery powered.
A battery powered. You got to put a 9-volt in it. It creates a magnetic field that vibrates the string at a high rate of speed and creates depending on the note you're playing, a violin or cello like tone that you can manipulate the intensity of simply by changing the position of the EBow on the string,
or lifting it,
or lifting it, or anything like that. It has grooves on the bottom of it that will help you position it, and they tell you to use a clean tone on your amp and to activate the neck pickup for best effect.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah, I can tell you I've used all different pickups. I'll swing the EBow around backwards and use the bridge pickup and get it right over the poles and get a really just nasty, aggressive nasal sound to it. And it's just really cool. And I've used it. I don't use it live with my current band, but I've done a ton of recording with the EBow in my history. I have used it live before. And it's one of those things, like Andrew has said a couple of times, that a guitar player might not think to buy for himself,
right,
or herself.
And
But
then all of a
it's,
sudden you have it and you're like, I'm never going to stop using it because it's fun.
yeah, it's so much fun and it's so versatile, and you can create so many different sounds between your hands, the ebow, the strings, and the pedals. You can create a whole orchestra
Yeah.
worth of sounds.
One of my favorite guitar players, Ty Tabor, abuses them as
Yeah,
well, at least used to. And if you listen to enough King's X, you'll hear them in the background. Like he
yeah,
does them. I'm not saying he doesn't play them in solos, but a lot of times he'll use them in the background, sometimes harmonized with himself. And a really popular use for these, as Wes indicated, not clean tone. What we like to do is we use a distorted tone. Now, not the most gain on the planet because that can get a little hairy, but enough gain, some delay, maybe some modulation, but definitely delay. And you place the ebow over the string of choice and it will quickly ramp it up to vibration. It won't like a pick where you pick a string and it's like, boom, it's vibrating and there's an attack. With this, it's like a slow attack. So it ramps up the attack. And
yeah,
then once it's over the string, it will not stop vibrating. The string will go on. And so you can, and what Ty usually does is he'll slide around and do legato runs, but without picking. It's extremely smooth and almost ethereal. And it's just a lot of fun. It creates cool textures. So I love the thing. I don't have one right now because, of course, the last time I lost it, I'm like, I'm never buying one again. And I'm just waiting for the next time I decide I have $100 laying around and I'm going to buy one for sure. Yeah, they're really cool. I'm not a slide player, but it's a really cool way to like almost emulate slide or, just it's neat. So just
yeah.
get an ebow and your significant other will really love it. And
Yeah,
maybe
and
you will when you borrow it.
there's a little bit of a learning curve, so approach it like anything else new, with the understanding that you've got to develop your technique with it just a little bit. So put in some practice. But once you do, man, it's such a cool, fun thing to use.
Mm-hmm.
And probably nobody else that's playing that night that your band is playing is using one.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll help you stand out a little bit and people remember that.
Yeah. And I can't speak to the effectiveness of theirs. Now there's copies out there that you can buy that are super cheap. I can't speak to the effectiveness.
Don't get the crappy copies. I tried one because it was cheaper. And remember when I said buy once, cry once?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is I thought I lost mine.
So you bought another.
So I bought another. I got a cheap one because I'm like, oh, well, if I buy a cheap one, I'll find the one that I lost. Right. And I got the cheap one and it was a piece of junk. And it never worked right. And I ended up getting frustrated. And of course, now instead of throwing it away, I gave it to somebody else and said, listen, I don't like this thing, but maybe you will. The important part there was I don't want to hear about it. So just take it. And then a couple of months later, I bought a real ebow. And then, of course, the day after the return window closed, what happened?
You found the other one.
I found the original one. Yeah, it still works. The battery had started to deteriorate, so there was some corrosion on the inside. I had to spend a good amount of time cleaning it up, but it works.
Man, my first ebow. Okay, so
my first ebow was a Christmas gift from my mother.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I had my first ebow for so long that it literally was duct taped together. I had dropped it so many times, but in my defense, I had gotten so good at duct taping this thing together that I wound up using hockey tape eventually. And I started making like finger groove. Like I basically made a handle for this thing so I'd stop dropping it.
That's awesome.
Out of hockey tape. Yeah. I was like, I'm so tired of dropping this thing, but like the battery door was missing. It just broke. And, they don't make them out of titanium, folks. If you drop it on stage, it's probably going to crack. Yeah. But it'll still work.
Yeah. It's plastic and a magnet and some wiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything that was the 10 things that we put on the list? Can you think of anything else relatively inexpensive like that we can hit people to? So,
I don't have anything earth shattering, but I have to tell you, I don't know if, well, you might be aware, Wes, that on vintage Fender tremolos, if you ever see, not even just vintage, on even some more modern ones, when you see them in store or like when you buy them new, there's a little circular piece of tape
over the hole. Yeah.
Over the tremolo.
I know why that's there.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everyone why that's there? So
When you have a standard Fender trem system like that, the bar is a screw in, right? You turn it and turn it and turn it. Well, eventually you run out of threads and then it will tighten up. It won't go in any farther. But because of the nature of how it's made, there might be some slop in the stick, right? Some slop in the stick.
Some slop in the stick.
Yeah.
So you can either tighten the bar as much as you want, which then it's just tight in there and there's no movement.
And
then
it's a lot easier to snap it off.
It is. You can snap it right off, or you can back it out a bit, and so now it's looser, so you can move it as much as you want. But now it's got that slack.
Right.
So what's the solution for that, my friend?
The solution to that is you're supposed to drop a tiny little short spring in the bottom of that hole, and it pushes up against the bottom of the trem bar so that it will snug up before it reaches the end of the threads.
Yep.
And especially with vintage style trems, the bar is angled such that you can screw it in and leave it in and put the guitar back in its case.
Yes.
And it will not activate.
Right.
You kind of turn it back towards the bottom corner of the case and you can close the case. The newer ones, the bar angle is different and you can't really do that and you got to take it out.
So when you take the bar out, Wes,
if you turn the guitar over, the spring falls right out, which is why Fender sells them in little bags of 6.
Yeah. How big are those springs?
They're wee. I mean, they're wee. They're I'm trying to think. I don't have anything that right around me that I could show you.
That's because you can't grasp a particle.
Right. I actually have a bag of these in my bag of parts, which is right over there, or in my box of parts.
I would recommend, and believe it or not, you can get these tiny little bastards on Amazon. Not even bag of 6. You can get a bag of 12 for dirt cheap. So if your giftee, the recipient of gift, has a tremolo, a Fender tremolo, whether it be the vintage version or the more modern version, there's a semi-decent chance they may need some of these things.
Yeah. And one question, hey, Andrew, is your Fender trem there? Is that a screw in or a pop in?
I have both. I have a screw in and a pop in. Right.
So it only works on the screw ins. It doesn't work on the pop ins.
Right. The pop ins they don't have this problem.
They don't have that.
No,
but that's a great suggestion. And for if you know that your guitar playing pal is handy with a soldering iron, there are a lot of single pickups that cost under $100. If they're Seymour Duncan fans, of course, I only buy Fralins, and yes, I just name dropped. I picked up a new Fralin pickup for one of my Strats the other day. I totally name dropped that.
We got to get Lindy on the show, man.
I would love to do that. I would have asked him when I was there, but he was on the phone.
You know what else I highly recommend?
Tell me, Andrew, what do you highly recommend?
Okay. Speaking of, we've talked about this before. Anything that involves maintenance.
Yeah.
Polish, cleaner,
microfiber cloths,
microfibers, and those. Again, it's like a cloth that's impregnated with like a cleaner. It's an oil. Yeah. Find those. In fact, next time we do an episode, I'm going to make sure I have the exact kind sit in front of me so I can just tell it. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anything that involves maintenance, even like a dust brush, give someone something they can quickly dust off their guitar from time to time.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little thing that probably no one has and that they could really appreciate. So
absolutely
not that expensive. So, all hands on deck for any maintenance stuff.
There you go. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. What do you think?
I think so too. So differentstringspodcast.com for all the shenanigans that your heart will ever desire. And just go there.
Yeah. And ladies, gentlemen, and guitar players, we totally appreciate you listening to the show. And
drop your gift ideas in the comments, even if it's after Christmas, because there is next year.
Yeah, next year Christmas comes once a year, pretty much most every year, right? We're doing once a year now, right?
Christmas in July, or what is it? Christmas in July? Don't we do isn't there like a thing where you do like Christmas in June or July or something?
I don't know.
I don't know, something like that.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.